Dvir, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. Great to have you here. It's an honor to have you as a guest. So yeah, tell us what you're going to be sharing today. Go ahead.
So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here, especially after FinOps X. I've been knowing Damien for quite a while, and I measure the greatness of an event by the number of hugs that I'm giving. So I get so many hugs in the event. So it is a beautiful community to share knowledge and information. So I appreciate you having me here. I'm going to talk a bit about, I'm not taking much of your time, but I'm going to talk a bit about Weave and our impressions from the FinOps X Barcelona convention. Maybe for those of you who don't know me, sorry, give me 1 second. Here we go. So my name is Dvir. For the last 8 years, I've been the lead FinOps at Wix, the website building company. 3 months ago, I joined Weave, which is a FinOps automation, tailored automation platform. And I've been around the FinOps community for quite a while. I'm certified by the FinOps Foundation. And if you missed in San Diego, we presented a session under the Wix hat about what comes beyond optimization and advanced FinOps practices that we implemented at Wix, as well as lessons learned. So that's the QR code if you want the presentation later. Cool. A bit about Weave and what we do. We've established in 23 based on feedback from the FinOps community that everyone maturing their journey want to move to automations and FinOps automations, reducing waste, which we'll see later. And our vision was to empower innovation with FinOps. So we won't give you a platform to work with, but the tools to innovate FinOps, which is pretty cool. And the idea is that eventually what we want to give the FinOps community is the ability to tell us what you want to achieve, and then we can do it automatically. Cool, that's enough about that. Let's talk about future priority shift and why I think this FinOps X was a milestone in the FinOps community. I've been talking with many practitioners during the convention, and it was pretty clear that the state of FinOps really reflected the kind of a shift left in FinOps based on more priority to automation and empowering engineers to take action, as well as the top priority, regardless of any company size, which is the reducing waste, the actual reduction of waste instead of cost observability and accurate forecasting. And I'm going to connect it to a beautiful session by Johnson & Johnson later. Cool. So what does it mean to shift left FinOps? Based on multiple conversations that I had in the convention, it's the idea to catch it where it matters. So if we're acting with costs, and if we're reviewing our costs and cost anomaly, and if we're taking our action items from the cost report, that's a reactive activity. What we want to do is to be a bit more proactive and to save those dollars before they're getting provisioned into the cloud. So it gives us early cost control in the pipeline of the engineers that will help us eventually save more because we don't have to overcomplicate our operation with already provisioned workloads. We can track and optimize our workloads when they provision. So we're talking about infrastructure as code, and what can be done from the FinOps area and the FinOps space is IAC, proactive planning with understanding what the agenda is, what we measure as success, what our key KPIs are, automated policies to what we want our engineers to work with which tools we want to engage with them and give them. So the mindset of shift left is not, I'm going to show and charge my customers. It's I'm going to engage with them in a more proactive manner in order to be more optimized and efficient, which is pretty cool. It's a great shift from my perspective in the FinOps community, because I've called this practice 8 years ago financial engineering, and for me, I feel like at home. And the idea here is to move away from the traditional FinOps pipeline. That means code, deploy, monitor, and then optimize cost, to more of a proactive approach by cost planning, code with cost awareness. I'm going to show you some examples later. Deploy with controls, so we have some kind of organizational policies that we understand how our infrastructure will behave, and continuous optimization because things change, new hardware, new services. We want to be ahead of the curve and to keep optimizing our workloads based on new releases from the cloud vendors. So it's an interesting approach, but let's look at some example about how we can engage with an engineers early stage in the process in order for us to be more proactive. And this is based on a couple of conversation I had with great engineers in the convention. And it kind of opens the mind to what we can achieve by engaging with our engineers instead of talking with cost with them. We can talk about code and how we can govern our cost using infrastructure as code. So I gave 3 examples: cost awareness and how can we automate budget and alerts, resource optimization, and what kind of methodologies we can do with infra as code in order for us to give the right tools for the right environment, and real-time monitoring. How can we enable at scale cost monitors per agenda or per workload that we're provisioning to the cloud? So the first one is my favorite. I also talked about it in San Diego when I presented at FinOps X San Diego. It's budgets in infrastructure as code. So part of our provisioning pipeline is to approve new workloads, approve new agendas. And in the design phase, we also set a budget, right? So we approve the budget for that specific workload. But the idea is that we don't have to maintain those budgets manually in the cloud vendors. What we can do is to integrate it with the day-to-day work of the engineers, which is pretty awesome, right? So instead of us running after engineers to keep the budget from the cost report, we can already engage with them. This is your approved budget. Create your cost anomaly, cost reporting based on the budget that was allocated to that workload. And then everything is awesome, right? Because he's, first of all, more accountable for the budget that was allocated to him. He's part of that process, and it's part of his day-to-day. Second example, which is, again, something pretty awesome that I've discussed in Barcelona, real-time monitoring using CloudWatch. And again, this is something that you can maintain or enable your engineers to do based on infra as code. It can be part of your models. And when you provision into the cloud, again, you gain this level of governance, level of control from the engineering side. And again, it creates accountability. It creates a sense of ownership to what they're provisioning to the cloud. So it's a pretty cool example about how we can integrate FinOps to the engineering mindset and their tools. Third example, on-premise is the last one, resource optimization. So a lot of people think about, I need to right size only after monitoring my usage, or I need to understand what my CloudWatch metrics specify in order to understand what can I right size in my environment. Having said that, we can move to organizational policies saying for a development environment, you don't have to have a large or a medium infrastructure. Run on the smallest instance, or I'm deliberately specifying the tools that you can use in the development and staging environment for you to be more cost aware and be more cost proactive. So this is some kind of governance, again, that we can implement into the engineering day-to-day in order for them to be more efficient, be more mindful on their costs, and use the right tool for the right job in order for them. Because if you give them the ability, they'll just provision the largest instance ever, right? The people that are impacting our bottom line. Cool. So that was the first segment of conversation I had, but I want to do a small focus about the amazing session by Johnson & Johnson, and it's automating anomaly investigation with AI. And I think the cool thing about this is it opened a new vectors for how to handle or how to approach anomaly as a whole, because most of the markets that and most of the companies I talked with, they only focus on generating anomalies. And this is kind of an innovative way to look at anomalies, because it's not enough to be aware of where your actions should be, especially in large scale environments. So if you're an enterprise company with a very large invoice, anomalies will be like a waterfall in a river, and it's a huge problem for anomalies or tracking anomalies, because in large environments they generate, and again from experience, numerous alerts which you don't know what is false positive and what you have to follow up on. And there is a manual evaluation, and you have to understand like what kind of service, what kind of business is running on top of it. And many alerts, again, may be false positive, but the operational side of managing this life cycle of an alert, it's very inefficient. So that's the challenge. And I think that the way that they approach solving it, or in general, the idea is that instead of understanding what grew or what kind of cost impact you had day over day, you have to understand how to calculate patterns and how to be very precise in how you approach your anomalies and what is considered anomaly based on growth or business growth or using unit of economics, or based on incidents. Is it something that we need to change the sense of urgency? So I think that their approach as pattern recognition is with what we try to do and implement ourselves. So what we're doing today is that we're creating a forecast based on actual data. And then we track the actual cost in the forecast itself to create data points in order for them to understand this is how much I needed to pay for that day for that specific service, but this is what I actually paid, and build the anomalies on top of that. Now, what they did is pretty awesome, because instead of just improving their pattern recognition, they did an amazing enrichment of what kind of information they're sharing with their stakeholders. And this is, I took from the slides. I changed the font because the picture I took is very bad. But the idea is that they're giving a lot of enrichment of the information of the alert. They're trying to explain what it is and where it's coming from. They're trying to engage with a lot of information to the engineering teams. And for that, they actually didn't just build an anomaly engine, which I think this is the innovative part. Their anomaly engine gave them around 500 alerts per month. And the post investigation, where they're using really cool methods. And again, I highly recommend this session. They reduced the 500 to 72 investigations. Out of them, the action engine actually took them like 10 cases to solve every month, like people coming and saying, I need your help. And it kind of created this amazing wrapper around how the life cycle of an anomaly or an alert and how you can mitigate that. So for me, it was a very interesting session and a lot of insights about how to track your costs based on agendas, and how you're doing that in your company based on your maturity level and the level of data ingestion you have. This is the way that we're doing that. So we have an automation about cost anomaly that we can do all this algorithm, and we're going to enrich it with a lot of information from that session, because I think it's a very innovative approach. That's it from my side. I hope you find it useful. Thank you so much for the time. And this is my LinkedIn profile. If you have any questions or if you want to connect, I'd love to. I love to talk about FinOps. I'm very passionate about it. So have a great evening, and thank you so much again for having me.
Well, that was quite an explanation, Dvir. Thanks for explaining everything. I also agree that the talk from Johnson and Johnson was great, and it's great that as a company you are learning to apply this into your own workflows. So it gets the value that we all got from the sessions, from very specific ones. We will talk about one that was. We have the guest of one, the host that was speaking, so we can set the details about that on the Anderson talk. But yeah, it was a pleasure to have you here today, and you were early. Like I was really surprised.
I got very excited to see you and talk with you guys. I almost missed you. It's crazy. We just saw each other.
One of the few that make it on time. It was excellent. It's always a pleasure to see you. for those who don't know, Dvir was the first one that I speak with about FinOps back in the days, and encouraged me to take
What a journey.
Yeah, amazing job.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank you very much. And now we will move to Spanish.
Ok, genial. Pues nada, muchas
Genial.
gracias de nuevo a Dvir. La verdad es que la charla ha sido muy interesante y no está genial ver que las empresas, tanto las empresas como a nivel vendor, como las empresas a nivel practicante, cogen los insights, ¿no? de la parte de FinOps